Hey everyone, my name is Alexandra and I'm the owner of Double A Design. And today I'm creating a requested video by a client who asked, what should I do before I start building my website? I thought that was a great question because I see a lot of people hire a web designer without doing the pre-work that the designer is going to need, but also having a very limited budget. So some designers will take you through this discovery process and do it on your behalf, but they're typically charging you for it. So for higher budget projects, a lot of times you'll do this together. And for lower budget projects, it's really nice if you've done this in advance and you can pass it off and save yourself some money and some headache in the long run because you have that strategy established. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to take you through this process step by step. So I've created this checklist first off, and this is the planning checklist that I'm sort of going to be going through today. There are 9 steps that I suggest that you take before going to design. And again, I see a lot of people go on Wix and choose a template and just sort of without purpose starting to fill in the blanks of that template. And it creates a site that often has a nice look, but it doesn't look branded. And the user experience doesn't match the ideal client because they don't know who their ideal client is. So these are the things that I suggest you do first. I suggest that you build your brand, which means creating a very simple brand guide. And I can show you what that might look like. If you do go on to Google and just search brand guide, you'll see a bunch of different brand guides. There are some really great examples out there. You can use Canva as a template and create a really simple brand guide there. Or you can start from scratch using Figma. This is a brand guide I created for the Professional Network. And again, has a nice tagline, their sort of mission. And then a couple of iterations of their logo. We've got a horizontal logo. Fonts, I suggest picking 2. And then colors, I suggest picking 4 to 5 and keeping in mind that black and white will probably be one of the most predominant colors that you use. We've also chosen some imagery that's going to be used throughout the site because we want that to be consistent and intentional. So for this specific brand guide, we chose images that really emphasize the interconnectedness of people. This is a recruiting agency located in California, and they have this very purpose-driven mission statement to find good people and connect them with good companies. So just an example of a brand guide that you can use. That is something that I'm happy to provide for my clients, but if you would like to do that yourself, it again saves you a little bit of time and money. So second, you're going to want to begin to collect benchmark sites. And what I mean by benchmark sites are sites that you admire. So I would create a 2-column list. One is the site URL, and the second is, most important, why do you like it? So do they have really compelling copywriting throughout the site? Do you like the feature, the functionality? Do you like the modal, the pop-up window that appears when you get to the page? All of those things you can write in your notes and then apply them when you're creating your own site. Third, I would begin to identify your ideal client or clients, or if you don't have a client, like maybe you're an artist and you're not necessarily selling things, you're just sort of talking about your work or you're creating a digital portfolio, you might also just call these people your users. So who is the person that's going to come to your site? How old are they? What do they need? What are their obstacles? And how can you address those hurdles and obstacles in your website? So I can give you a little example of that. These are some personas that I created for Relogix, a stem cell company in Florida. And again, I just went through and gave people some names, picked a random location, honestly, and I identified hurdles and obstacles and then the action items associated with those. And you can do this just in a table. That's totally fine. They don't have to be designed out unless you're going to be using them later in some type of a presentation for a donor or for a potential investor, something like that. Otherwise, you can just use a Google Doc and just create columns for each of these things. So after that, you've established your brand and you know your user. Then I would begin to strategize. So writing your user stories, prioritizing the tasks, and assigning them to pages. And I'll show you what I mean just in a second. This, by the way, is the Google Classroom that I use when I tutor people to create their own website in just 6 weeks. If that is something that you are interested in, please reach out. I would love to coach you through that process. So user stories just go ahead and open up my Nova user stories, are essentially the tasks that your user is going to need to do, right? And these ones are already sorted, but the first thing that you're going to do is, I know that I'm going to have a couple of different types of people on my site. I might have teachers coming, I might have admin, I might have students. And so I'm going to list those tasks based on this type of user that's coming to the site. So a teacher who comes to my site might want to view the course catalog. She might want to request a demo. She might subscribe to a blog or newsletter. And once I've sort of made this long list, then I'm going to prioritize those. So I'm going to prioritize them as high, medium, or low. And then I'm going to assign them to a page. So a teacher who's requesting a demo, that's one of the highest priorities that they're going to have. They don't want to purchase something that they haven't tried yet. So I'm going to put that on my homepage right at the top, request a demo, right? That's the CTA. Now, a lot of times you'll sort of be working with different page titles and sort of workshopping which of those is going to land best. So for example, for Nova, some people might want to read the company mission and values. They want to know who we are as an organization. We sort of dabbled with mission, about us, our why, and our story. And then we eventually bolded our story because that's what we chose to put on the final website, which looks like this. So next step, I'll go ahead and toggle back to the checklist, is after you've prioritized those tasks and assigned them to pages, you sort of have the map of your site. You know how many pages there are going to be, you know what your user needs to do and where they're going to be able to do that. So map out your landing page. And on my landing page, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is the first impression of my website and I want it to be strategic and I want to get people to those high priority tasks as fast as possible, right? So you have your menu, that's also sort of a table of contents for the site, but then you also want to create strips on your homepage that take people to those high priority items, right? So when you're planning this out, again, I would not go into Wix and start just throwing things on the page. I would write my body copy and my H1s and H2s, those different headings that I need, in a Google Doc first. So I can show you a little bit of what that would look like. Go back here. And I'm going to pause my share for a second and open up Writing for the Web. All right, all set. Thanks for letting me pause there for a second. So this is a little bit of web copy that I wrote for an amazing vegan tuna spread company called Jinka. And what we do is first I'll interview people, but you obviously don't need to interview yourself. But when I'm writing for the web, I think, okay, these paragraphs are going to be pretty small. They're going to be in strips. So I want to make sure that my web copy has the same hierarchy as it's going to have on the page and then consequently in the back end. So I label everything as either a page title or the title of the document, an H1, which you can see it's right here, or an H2 or body. And then I'll always go through and bold the calls to action. So those will be the buttons. And I'll show you sort of what this looks like in practice. This is my H1, right? The big title at the top of the page. Then I've got body copy and a CTA, H2, body copy and a CTA, call to action, H2 again, body copy, and then 2 calls to action here. So a primary and a secondary. So when you're thinking through to yourself, like, okay, what's this page going to look like? It's very, very helpful to begin with a Word document. And the reason for this is because it's easier to proofread. It's easier to sort of get the big picture of what your entire site content is going to look like. And then if you have other key players or reviewers that need to take a look, they can collaborate in that Word document and comment, and you can revise that way before you actually take the copy to the web. So that last step is proofread, right? So go through and give yourself a good proofread, read it out loud. I always taught English for many years. I always told my students, if you can't hear it out loud, probably doesn't sound very good. So read it out loud. And then if you want to hire a professional copywriter because you're at that stage in your business where you're really ready to invest in quality copy, I'm here for you as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go through the course syllabus really quickly. So if you do want support, I offer this course as a one-on-one session for 6 weeks, half-hour sessions each time. And we'll go through all of these stages, but you'll have that support and feedback along the way. So if this seemed a little bit overwhelming and you're like, I kind of want to invest in someone to move this process along with me, please do reach out. I am happy to set that up for you and give you some private instruction. And at the end of the 6 weeks, you'll come out of the process um, with a really, really good game plan and a landing page design and a couple of different options for reviews. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will look forward to hearing from you if you're interested in purchasing a course.